Well, welcome back to Community Scene. I'm Mary Adams, and we're talking about the art of origami with three very interesting people. Our artist today is Dan Bouja, and Dan does origami, it exhibits, I think he writes about it. But the person who introduced to it is Nick Bialis, and Nick is also quite an origami artist and coming along, and we're pleased to have him and his mother, Julia, here with us. The whole family is very talented in art, in writing, in organic food growing. I'm not quite sure what they do, but up there at Porter Corners, they have a good time, right? And we're learning about this art of origami, and I think, Dan, what is this? You're going to tell us a story now?
Yes, Julia will read a story, and there are pauses during the story where I would fold up a model, and that model would slowly change to different hats, in other words, different people, and the story would continue to the very end of it.
All right, well, it's all yours. Take it away. I'm just going to watch.
Oh, okay. Julia?
This is the story of a brave captain and his passengers and what happens to them during a terrible storm one fateful night. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me introduce them to you. First, we have our noble captain standing proud in his big hat.
So here's the captain's hat. One thing I like about folding with newspapers do the first fold for you. What you would do would take an ordinary sheet of newspaper, which has been folded flat. There's also a crease right down the middle, since the newspaper boy will leave that for you. What you're going to do is fold one corner diagonally to meet that middle crease. Many of you may have seen this. This is a simple, classic paper hat. It's also quite large, but it gets smaller slowly as I make more folds to it. Once that's done, you bring this part to cover that. And turn it over. And bring that segment up. There you have a large paper hat for the captain.
That's a wonderful hat.
All right, continue.
Although the waters on this trip are rough, our captain weathers the storm easily, and his skill is admired by one of the passengers, a lady who wears a long veil. She is the ship's doctor.
Now, in the story itself, this is the hat of a fireman. Now, I couldn't exactly figure out how a fireman would really fit in on a ship, so this could be called a fireman's hat, but I decided to call it a lady's hat. So we have our captain's hat, and we open it up like that, squash it down. In origami, they have different names for different kinds of folds. This you would possibly call a squash fold, as you take something that looks like a pocket and you squash it down. Now right now, we just take one end, about halfway through or a third through, and fold it down. And open it up, and we have fireman's hat or lady's hat.
The man who hired the captain to guide them through this risky voyage is a famous explorer on his way to discover lost treasures. Is he braver than the captain? We shall see.
So right now we have a fireman's hat. We go back to a previous step. We had this side folded up. We turn it over. And we do the same thing on the other side. At which point, we open it up, and we have a hat that looks similar to the explorer's hat. The explorers would go into deepest, darkest jungles and look for lost cities.
So that's a brave person's hat, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This explorer is not a private man as far as his emotions go. He is madly in love with the doctor, although she remains aloof. You might say he wears his heart on his sleeve. In other words, it's obvious to everyone around him how he feels about her.
Now, we're going to put the paper hat away for just a moment. Construction paper is something that people always, not always, but people with young children will have around, as well as newspaper or loose leaf paper. This I've made into a square. As ordinary loose leaf paper would be 8.5 by 11. The first step, which I've eliminated here to save on fumbling around so much, would be to fold one corner down to another. And you just fold off and tear off the excess. And what you're left with is a square. So most origami is with squares, but not everybody has square pieces of paper lying around at home. So the next step is to fold this in half. It's a good idea to make your creases as sharp as possible. Just take your thumbnail and drag it down as what they would call ironing the paper with your finger. The next step is something that's called a cupboard fold, as in it looks like the doors of a cupboard opening and closing. Since we have this, in the books they call this a mountain fold, as in something that sticks up sharp. The reverse is a valley fold. So we have the top mountain crease. We take one end, one side, and fold it toward that middle crease. And we do the same with this edge and fold it toward that middle crease. And there is a cupboard. Now, we take this point here and fold it down toward the middle, similarly to what we did with the paper hat. And we have a point. Turn it around so the point's facing down, and we fold it in half, like this. Almost done with that heart. So that gives us an idea where the heart breaks up in half. And we turn it over, make one more cupboard fold, but only to the midpoint there, the midpoint crease I just made. It's a little difficult, but just sharp crease only to that middle point. We fold it in half again, turn it around. Now with the sharp creases that we made, we just slowly move them toward the middle. As you're slowly moving them toward the middle, you notice that the corner is also starting to move with it. This is what I had mentioned before as a squash fold. You take a corner and you squash it out. Boom. Like that. You need the same with this little fold here. Flat. This gives you two lines there. If you want to make the heart shape even more pronounced, you just fold along that line. And again. And you turn it over, and you have a heart that you can wear on your sleeve or in your pocket.
That's great. I tell you, I hope that when I watch this show, well, you know, we rebroadcast the show at night. We retelecast it tonight from 10 to 11, and I'm going to have to watch the second time to know how to do it.
Okay, that's why I'm just trying to move as slowly as I can.
You did very well, slowly.
So now we continue with the story.
Ah, if only he knew the truth. The doctor has sailed on the captain's ship for many years and has become very close to one of the sailors.
So we take our explorer's hat that we made before, and we fold up, let's just say, a good way to judge is from corner to corner here. We fold up from there. You turn it around, and you line up the fold, the one you had made before. And you have a little sailor's hat. As I said before, it starts with a large captain's hat and slowly goes down to a small sailor's hat as the story continues.
Our little soap opera ends here, unfortunately, because the explorer has given the captain directions that take the ship into a terrible storm. The ship has become quite worn over the years, and although it has served the captain well for a long time, it isn't strong enough to face the storm.
So, to make the ship, you'll notice there's a little point there. You just grab that point and pull it out. The same with the point there. And there's our ship.
The storm tears the ship apart. First, the bow is ripped away. Then the stern is torn free. By this time, the captain has ordered everyone off the ship in the lifeboats for their own safety, but he is going down with the ship. Finally, the mast breaks off and the ship sinks, taking the captain with it. Some of the crew survived the impact of the storm and searched the region where the ship went down. They never found the captain, sadly. All they found was his shirt.
And this is what is called the captain's shirt.
Oh my goodness, that's a wonderful story. You like doing that, huh?
Oh, I love narration. It's fun.
That was fun. Thank you so much for doing it for us.
You're welcome.
We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we're going to demonstrate the paper hat, a different paper hat. We're going to do a dollar bill fold, and we're going to do a flapping bird fold, and then you're going to be an expert after you watch it in origami. We'll be back in just a moment.